Hey, so there's an experience I had on Thursday night that, in a way, kind of transformed me, and I'd like to share that. So I'm part of this group called Crew at Maryland, and there are a few people involved there that do bar ministry on Thursday nights, where they hand out free water to people coming in and out of the bars just to make sure they stay hydrated and stay safe. And this past Thursday was my second time going along with them, and and when I would hand these bottles out, people would ask, "Why are you doing this?" And I told them that we were with a Christian group called Crew, and we wanted to make sure they stayed safe, and we wanted to show them the same love that Jesus gave us. And I mean, it's easy to say that, but do we really mean it? I felt like that night God was really showing me what it meant to be compassionate for somebody else. To to just hand out water unconditionally to these people. I mean we didn't say come believe and then we'll give you the water. We just gave them the water. And I mean like when we hear what these people have to say, like it's easy for us to try to construct a sermon to try to lecture them, but we know that that really doesn't work. All we can do is trust God to do what only He can do and use us as seed planters. I know that wherever I leave off, someone else might pick up in the future. I might plant the seed and someone else might water it. Just as the Apostle Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 3 with the church in Corinth. He might have planted the seeds, Apollos might have watered them, but God is the one that grows them. And I know I have a pretty pushy personality, so a lot of the time I'll like try to say everything right there. And I feel like I'm compelled to do it in a way that kind of shows my own unfaithfulness. I'm not leaving it up to God to do what only He can do. I mean, yeah, I'm supposed to be involved, but I'm not the one that's in control of the situation. God is. Now God taught me through this experience to be patient with people who aren't believers. Paul tells us to be gracious in a way that's seasoned with salt, so that we have substance, but in a similar way, we do it in a way that shows genuine caring. I mean, a friend of mine who's now my discipler named JT interacted with me quite a bit before I came to faith, and he was definitely patient with me, and I needed every bit of that. Like, I remember when I first came to Maryland, I wanted to live the typical college life, partying, having sex. I thought that the idea of waiting until marriage to have sex was pretty ridiculous. And he was honest with me, and at the same time, he showed patience. He didn't treat me like a project. He treated me like an actual person. And I know it's easy for me to forget that hardly more than 6 months ago I was in that spot, and it's easy for me to treat someone else like a project. Like, yeah, I know evangelism is an essential component of the Christian life, and something I really enjoy doing, but at the same time, if love is lacking, then, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13, I'm just a clanging gong, making noise with no meaning. Actually, let's go to that passage right now. I think everyone knows that passage from this chapter that people use in weddings, but let's back up a little bit to the first verse of the chapter. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith, so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, And if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. So, I mean, like, I can talk sound doctrine all I like, but without the love there, then it's just empty. Now here's the passage that we use in weddings a lot of the time, and let's just go through it slowly to see how we're doing with this. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. So, let's just take an honest look here to see how we're doing with each of those, and I can tell you I don't measure up. I'm naturally impatient. As I said before, I'm pushy. Try to take on what only God can do. Let's see what Jesus has to say to the church of Ephesus in Revelation 2. To the angel of the church in Ephesus write, the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. I know your works, your toil and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. I know you are enduring patiently, and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. I mean, I feel like that's been with me so far, but I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had at first. Remember that from where you have fallen, repent, and do the works you did at first. If not, I'll come to you and remove your lampstand from its place, unless you repent. So, this is pretty intriguing. I mean, he's not saying he's going to take his salvation away from the people involved in the church there, but the church is not going to be in function anymore if they don't repent. I mean, once someone has salvation, it's never gone. But a church doesn't last forever. The church body does. I felt I could really identify with what he said to them in verses 4 and 5 about losing that love for him that they had at first. Like, so easy to just focus on being right that you forget why you need to be right. I mean, I already know what I believe, and I forget why I need to bring people to faith in the first place. Let's think about this question for a second. Who do you think has more faith between the guy that's focused on being right and the guy who genuinely loves God and genuinely wants people brought to faith so that they may spiritually come back to life? I would go with the second one, and I know a lot of the time I've been lacking in that. It's easy to forget that love you have for him up there, as well as your love for others around you. I mean, if you're just focused on being right, it shows insecurity in your faith. When you talk to someone in a condescending way, that is really a reaction to fear. I mean, if we really believe what we say we believe, then we don't need to focus on being right because we already know we are. And as Jesus is saying to the church of Ephesus here, I could preach sound doctrine all I like, but without the love there, it's meaningless. As my discipler JT showed me before I came to faith, and as God showed me by having me hand out the water to people in a drunken stupor, then he's really showing me what it means to be loving and patient with them, as he was with me. I needed every bit of that, and I know others out there who are currently lost do too. It's easy for me to be self-righteous, and it's easy for all of us to be self-righteous. But let's take a look at this passage I heard in Crew last Thursday that really moved me. I think you might know the story of the prodigal son. It's in Luke chapter 15, starting at verse 11. And he said, "There was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me.' And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country, and there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into the fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will rise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants.' And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. And bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead, and he is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field, and as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound.' But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him. But he answered his father, 'Look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed a fattened calf for him.' And he said to him, 'Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for this your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found.'" Now, when I heard the message surrounding this passage in Crew, I felt very convicted because, in a way, I saw myself to be both sons. I know that before I came to faith, I'd been wandering all my life, and as I came to myself, I came to God, and He came out running to me out of compassion. And even lately, I felt like my heart's been kind of far from God. I've been giving Him lip service and external activities without really putting my heart into it. And that's how I related to the prodigal son. And in a similar way, I also identified with the self-righteous son who kind of saw himself to be above the other son. Like, I looked at others with contempt, and I was feeling good about myself in a way that I shouldn't be. And when that happens, God always has a way of deflating that ego, bringing something in to humble you. I mean, this doesn't happen a lot, but towards the end of that message on Thursday, I almost broke down, just because I felt so convicted. And then right after that, I got to share that love that God gave me with the people at the bar, just handing out water to them so that they would be safe, and communicating Jesus with them in a way that was patient and not pushy. Taking that step of faith, leaving the rest up to God. I hope that, and I pray that He convicts you the way He convicted me.